Welcome to Happier ADHD. My name's Marley Darling. I'm a second generation neurodiversity expert with over 17 years experience, and now I'm raising my own neurodiverse kids. You'll notice that I call the podcast a few different things, but we always explore these same topics that I've been looking at for the last 17 years. Psychology, mindset, neurodiversity, personal development, health and well-being, business, parenting, and more. So, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello and welcome to another episode of ADHD Energy Empress. My name's Marley Darling. I'm a full-time single parent homeschooling 2 kiddos, and all 3 of us have ADHD and are on the autism spectrum. And I've been studying neurodiversity for 17 years. And when I say studying, I mean learning everything about psychology, neuroscience, behavior, health, nutrition, and then implementing things and learning what works, what doesn't, what's at the core of everything, and what little changes make big impact, because I'm all about making things simple and using mindset, attitude, and hacks and strategies to live a beautiful life with neurodivergence. I believe that we just need to do things differently, and we don't need to fit into the mold. So anyway, on with the episode. I'm here staring out at the ocean from upstairs in my house. It's a room that I don't use very often, but it has a beautiful view. I've got a face mask on. It's a lazy Sunday. It's the 3rd day of autumn, depending on whether or not, I don't think we class February 29th as summer, but if it didn't exist this year, that day would have been summer. So, would have been autumn, it would have been March 1st. So we got an extra day of summer, but that doesn't actually change the physical world's patterns. But it's feeling super cozy. Autumn has come in with this dreary, drizzly day. There's been sunshine on and off, but for the most part, it's been feeling super cozy. I've got a hoodie on. I've got some lazy pants. I avoided putting on track pants because I don't love that I turn into I feel like a lazy sloth for all of winter, a lot of autumn and spring, because it's cold in Tasmania. And I try and avoid moving into track pant territory, but this morning I was very tempted. When I get up and it's chilly, I just want to feel cozy. And yeah, then it comes to a point where finally I get back in normal person clothes, but I'd love to find a way to feel comfy and cozy over winter without just completely going unfashionable. I love the cozy feeling, but yeah, I want to look good and feel alive at the same time, not like I'm cocooning everywhere I go. So that'll be something that's on my mind this winter time. But what's been on my mind this week is reinvigorating enthusiasm for the year, for habits, and for homeschooling and my plan for the year, and looking at my goals for this year. Apparently, February 29th is sometimes called Discouragement Day because it's the day by which most people have given up on their yearly resolutions. Gretchen Rubin has reframed this to call it Determination Day, which I love. It's the point where you can reassess what's working and what's not working and what you really want to achieve this year. What habits and changes and goals were things that you really truly wanted, and what may have been just wishful thinking or like getting caught up in those New Year vibes. But there's obviously a balance, because some things you do really want and you were caught up in the New Year's vibes and you might be losing enthusiasm for them, but still deep down you want to do them. It's just getting a little bit hard. So for me, that was checking in with my exercise, and I'll get to that when we do a life check-in about health. And it's also thinking about my goal for the year, which was to publish a book on Amazon, and how and when I'm going to do that, because the ADHD is just really letting me put that off. As Gretchen Rubin says, something that can be done at any time is often done at no time. And I'm just not getting around to that. I'm a bit unclear as to what my business goals and next step should be. You can hear in the last few podcasts when I've spoken about this that I haven't fully made a decision about the direction I'm going to take. I'm not fully committed to anything other than teaching and helping and sharing the things that I've learned. So that's something I need to think about. And that's what's been on my mind this week. I had a really great day on beautiful February 29th. Very special day, only comes around once every 4 years. But by the way, did you know that we only, 3 times, we have to skip a leap year 3 times in 400 years. So every 100 years we have to skip a leap year, but every 400 year we have to keep that skipped leap year back in. So it's a little bit confusing. It's all to do with the maths of how a year around the sun is 365 and a quarter, but not quite, days. So we had a beautiful leap day, and I used that day as an extra day. I just wanted to feel like the world was on pause for me, and luckily we didn't have commitments that day because they were on our off week and something else got shuffled around. So I got to spend a day at home getting to some niggling little jobs that I don't even see as jobs, like piles and heaps and things that have been kind of half sorted, half cleaned, or had just become part of the scenery of the house that I'd been completely ignoring, to the point where I wasn't even ignoring them, I just wasn't seeing them anymore. So that felt really good to do some kind of spring cleaning. And then I spent an hour or two really assessing how homeschooling is going, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of that in the life checkup as well. So that's what's been on my mind, just thinking about life and where we're at and how we want life to be this year, and really reinvigorating through that determination day, which was February. So wherever you're at with your goals and habits for the year that you set for this year, have a think. Give it a bit of time to reassess. And I just realized that I'm not releasing these as I record them, because I'm doing it as a little personal journal, and then we'll schedule them once I'm ready to do so. So this is hello from the past. And whenever throughout the year you're listening to this, you can have a little think. What was it you wanted to achieve this year? It's just an arbitrary date, setting resolutions on or for January 1st, and this determination day is kind of an arbitrary date as well. And you'll see it if you follow any personal development, business motivation kind of stuff on social media. You'll probably see it like, it's been a quarter of the year, so how are you going with your goals? Or we're halfway through the year, what do you want to achieve for the rest of the year? So it's really arbitrary, and you can do this thinking and reassessment at any point throughout the year, especially if you're into personal development like I am. I'm all about just doing it in a way that's really positive and not trying to push yourself too hard, but to have a little bit of self-awareness and introspection and think about how your life's going and where you can make those little tweaks and changes to really live a beautiful life. So anyway, now that I've spoken for 8.5 minutes on the first little section there, this week in breakthroughs, the breakthrough this week has been in flexibility, I think. Doing the set curriculum with my kids has been forceful for quite a time. It hasn't really been working for months. I've tried little hacks and things like that, and I can find things that work. But the other day I got to thinking maybe I can open my mind a little bit bigger, and if it's working in some ways but it's a little bit of a struggle, how can I achieve the same outcome with a different and more enjoyable process? So I went through and I looked what my kids need to learn at this age, and I decided that we can try some other things that might motivate them a bit more, hopefully in the long term. So I'm going to stick with the curriculum with my older daughter, keep trying in bursts for my younger daughter, but it's not necessary to complete every single page, as long as I can see that they're meeting the things they need to know, and of course practicing it a bit so that knowledge is fully ingrained. But also I'm going to pivot a little bit and include more online learning through Khan Academy as well, because that tracks the process. It should be nice and easy and take some pressure off for all of us. So that's the breakthrough this week, is being more flexible in that way. And also flexibility in camping. We went away camping for the weekend. It was trip number 3, I think, for the year. I'm doing lots of trips this year, and it was our 3rd time camping ever. And I managed to make sure we had everything that we needed. At the last minute, we had to change plans because there was going to be a weather warning. So we had to cut the trip short down to one night and change the location as well. So it was a different camping experience, but the kids were fine with that. They were flexible. We still got to be near the water. They got to do some kayaking, and I was grateful that we did that, even though there was drizzles and things like that, and I was a little bit nervous about the weather. I questioned the decision a few times. We decided to follow through, and it was an opportunity and an experience, and the kids just rolled with it, which is really good. Good for their personality and character building, and good for mine as well. We can just up and go camping. It's not that hard. I know how to do it. Doesn't matter if the weather is like mildly bad. It wasn't super terrible. And we can do it, and now it'll make it easier in future as well. Building that neural pathway of the planning and executing camping means it's just going to become easier and easier and more like second nature. So that was super cool, and another little bit of flexibility this week. The struggle this week has been that we've all had this mild cold, and I haven't been sure if we're really that sick or not. It's just there's been occasional sneezes, and the kids were kind of snuffly for, on and off, and especially at night, but not really consistently throughout the day. They were just like a bit snotty here or there, and I felt a little bit not perfect in the sinuses, but then I was maybe overthinking it. So it's just been a bit of a mental struggle trying to work out if we're actually sick or not. And like my voice is a little bit weird today, but I haven't felt unwell. So that's been really weird. And it's been good because we cut back our social time this week. And like I said, Spring cleaned the house, and I've been kind of finding that ever difficult balance between putting in effort and achieving and being productive and rest. So having extra space and time this week to explore that has been interesting, and tuning into my body and the kids, and I don't know what this little illness is, but that's been the minor struggle. And my exercise in the mornings, which I'll talk about in life check-in, has gotten more difficult. So I pushed myself a bit more than usual, but then I'm resting more than usual as well. And the other struggle is remembering to eat and nourish my body. And that's just typical ADHD struggle. On that note, the hack for this week is to bulk cook food and then freeze it, which is something that people always say, but something that I haven't really done. It's just that extra executive functioning, but I'm going to mention it and recommend it. It is great having food in the freezer to defrost when you remember it's there. Sometimes I forget and I need a reminder. It's great to have friends who can remind you, or set an alarm that reminds you, or set a certain day a week that you eat the leftovers from the freezer. Another little hack for that, in terms of creating the food in the first place, is to make it together with a friend. Have a friend come over, have a cook up, or you can have a food swap with friends. You can create a big pot of something, and then everyone swaps and gets, like, say you have 9 other friends, everyone gets 10 different little meals, and they're all different because you've all made a different thing. That can be a great way to do it, and that gives the accountability and motivation as well, which is often needed for people with ADHD. So I'm really lucky because my boyfriend is really caring and wants to make sure I've eaten, which is handy because it's kind of easy to neglect when it's just yourself. And I do eat, but just not very interestingly. And I realized that I can cook and it's not as difficult as I make out, but just having that mental load of getting the ingredients and cooking it up and making something that's probably just for me because the kids won't eat it just seems like a big deal. So I'm really lucky that my boyfriend is on board with supporting me in this area, and we have a plan to cook together and then freeze up the food and leave it in my freezer so that I can eat it when he's not around. And I'm super grateful for him, which makes him really extra happy to do it. Food is definitely the way to my heart, and I love the extra step that someone else has been involved in cooking something, whether it is my boyfriend or a friend. I had a friend house sit for me, and she cooked up a meal and put 3 portions in the freezer for me for when I arrived home, and that was just really lovely, and I really appreciate that. It's like feeling nourished and cared for, which as a single parent or any parent or just any adult, sometimes you feel like you're always taking care of everything else, and it can be hard to take care of yourself, and it's effort. And having someone else do it for you just feels absolutely so very, very lovely. So that's my little hack. Make sure you eat, and you can freeze some away for another time. It's pretty easy to heat food up, and it feels nice to have home-cooked meals rather than takeaway or frozen meals from the supermarket. It's just really lovely and worth it. So I recommend. Okay, for story time this week, I had someone recognize me for the first time as the creator of Elvaria Meditations. She came up to me and she said, I know this might be a little bit weird, but I follow you on social media, and me and my kids listen to your meditations every night, and we really love them, and we love your voice, and they're just such beautiful stories. And that was so lovely. It was so nice to be appreciated in that way, because honestly, I feel honored anytime anyone listens to any of my stuff, but especially when kids listen to my meditations and enjoy them. It just feels so magical for me, because I know what it's like to be a child and be engrossed in another world, and this world that I created up myself becomes more of a tangible thing when people enjoy it. And what I mean by that is, like, take the world of Harry Potter. That is a completely made up place that does not exist at all, and J.K. Rowling just made it up and wrote it into a story. And as more and more people read it, it grew and grew, and it's almost like it exists on this alternate spiritual plane or this alternate universe. And obviously the more movies came out and products and things like that, it becomes more of a physical, tangible thing. But it was just created in her mind. It came out of nowhere. It was manifested into form from this idea. So it just feels incredible to create another world in that way, and then like be inviting people into that world, and they can experience it and meet the people and creatures there and enjoy it and explore it. And it's just beautiful. It's magical. And I absolutely love it in the most selfless way possible. It's just an incredible feeling, and I feel really humble about it at the same time. It's nothing to do with ego. It's just like really, really such an honor for children to listen. Like, every single time I've had a child listen to my meditations or comment on my meditations or enjoy it in some way, it's such a deep honor. So that was really beautiful that she came up to me. And that was interesting because one of my limiting beliefs that I've had about creating things and having an impact and sharing on the internet is about being recognized. And there's a line between online safety. Online safety is obviously really important, but having a belief that being recognized or noticed or known is bad or dangerous in some way is quite extreme. So I've felt something, I'm not going to try and articulate it, especially right now, but it was always in the back of my mind. I was a little bit cautious. I've got social anxiety, and I worry what people think of me, and I worry that they think bad things and think that I'm not good enough and my content's not good enough and all that negative stuff. So to have the very first time it happens be such a positive, heartwarming experience just instantly showed me that fear and that limiting belief was completely made up. It's possible for sure, but it's not the only possibility. It's not the ultimate truth. It's not what has happened at all. And I've stopped using TikTok, but I had over 19,000 followers on TikTok. I didn't have anyone recognize me, didn't have really any negative feedback at all. And of course it happens, but putting myself out there doesn't necessarily mean there'll be a negative response from other people. And it's held me back. And I really want to have an impact and create and share and teach, but I've been doing it half-heartedly. One, because I'm raising kids, and two, because I have ADHD, and three, because we all have ADHD and it makes it a bit tricky and busy, but also because of this limiting belief. So that's the story that I wanted to share about that, and about how the things we assume will happen, they're not truths. Our brain is just trying to keep us safe, and it's good to come back and question why you're behaving a certain way, why you're thinking and feeling a certain way, what's at the bottom of it, and is that true? And that's going into a lot of neuroscience and psychology right there. So I'll stop myself before I give an entire lecture or workshop about it right now. But that's the story for this week. And now I'm going to move on to life check-in. I mentioned health just before. The thing that's happening with health at the moment is that my 6-week bodyweight resistance exercise program on the Sweat app was completed, and then I went up to level 2, which is more challenging. It feels longer, and it's changed, so there's 2 supersets and then a circuit, and it's just a bit hard. Or maybe that's just a mental belief I'm telling myself. But also, I've been getting on the treadmill first and spending like 20 minutes on the treadmill and trying to increase how much I do jogging as well at the same time, and then I'm trying to go to the resistance exercise on the same day, and that's a lot to do. So I definitely could be changing how I'm doing it. I could alternate the days. The way our brain works is we can form one habit at a time. If we try and do more than one at once, and we're using kind of our willpower, we haven't fully formed the neural pathways yet, it's more likely we'll give up on those habits. And I feel like doing the jogging thing at the same time as trying to maintain this new bodyweight resistance thing, even though I've been doing it this whole year, I think, yes, well, I started mid-January or something. I'm on week 7, 8, I don't know. Doesn't matter. And I've been doing similar exercises for months before. It still isn't second nature. It's still effort. So to pile onto that with the extra exercise, it's making it feel hard. And that negative association will make it less likely that I'll continue and follow through. It's important, if something's having a negative association, to, as soon as you can, try and tweak something, assess it, or even just give it a bit of a break, like pull back, take a few steps back so that you can maintain it and have those positive associations. Because if something feels to your brain like it's positive, it's good, it's bringing benefits, it's enjoyable, feels good, you're obviously more likely to follow through with it. So I think I'm at the point where I want to lower my expectation, do a little bit less, and read a bit more. What I did this morning was watch an episode of TV, because I woke up before my kids, you guys. You know that doesn't happen very often at all, but I woke up before them. And because I've started taking creatine before I exercise as well, that's a new change I've made, because I want to help my muscles not get really bulky, but just be strong. They're a little bit weak because I have low muscle tone. And you're meant to take creatine 30 minutes before you exercise. So I took my creatine with a chocolate protein smoothie, and then I ate some breakfast in front of the TV. And then I think it was not quite the half an hour when I jumped on the treadmill as well. But that's what I did. I watched an episode of television. Instead of feeding my brain with podcasts or books or whatever, I just had a lazy morning. And like I said, it was super cozy autumn morning this morning. I stayed in my pajamas on the treadmill. I put on the sports bra, but I just left my pajamas on and chucked my trainers on and did some jogging. The other breakthrough I made this week is I actually went into the city, which I avoid because it's executive functioning, and I bought some shoes finally that the podiatrist recommended because they give extra support to hypermobile ankles and protrusion. I've forgotten what it's called when your ankles kind of roll in. So I got new trainers. So that's really good. But I felt a bit sad transitioning from my Docs, because Docs are like really easy. They're all weather. I love them. I love that I can splash things on my feet by accident and it's no big deal, or step in mud or grass or whatever. So I did wear my Docs camping, but I am going to make an effort to wear those new trainers most of the time to help with my ankles, and therefore my knees, and therefore my hips, and therefore my lower back, and therefore fix my shoulder issues. They all tie into each other, and it comes up from those feet. So if this is you, if you have issues in the knees or the hips or the back or the shoulders or the neck, you might want to check your posture and check in with hypermobility. There's a huge overlap with hypermobility and low muscle tone in neurodiverse folks. And it took me so much to figure out the issue. I went to a physiotherapist, and I've seen 3 or 4 different physiotherapists, and each one would have like a snippet of insight for me, but none of them fully understood the problem. And then I finally went to a podiatrist who just tied it all in together and explained really the core of those problems. So definitely worth checking out. So that's health. That's where I'm at for health at the moment. In social stuff, I'm really appreciating the stage of life that we're all in. Some of my friends have kids that are becoming teenagers and being a little bit less interested in our homeschooling group. So that's one of the things I got reinvigorated about, is maybe setting some more activities up to re-engage children there. But at the same time, I'm really appreciating that I'm in this stage with my friends where we can have this time together, because our kids are old enough to play independently, but young enough that we still meet several times a week. So I'm just super grateful for that. And I want to remind you that wherever you're at in life, this too shall pass. And that's for the good and the bad. So like that other saying, take the good with the bad. Could be worse, it could be better. Try not to get stuck in grass is greener, but really have gratitude for where you're at, where you've been, where you're going. And sometimes you just find yourself in a beautiful sweet spot. And when you do, just really enjoy it as best you can. Things will change over time. And I'm just really appreciating where things are at right now. In parenting this week, I'm I said I was going to mention that again because I've been reinvigorating that a bit and remembering something that I learned years ago, which was the more that I put in, the more that I get out. And I always called that inserting enthusiasm. I'm not at the point yet where I can really muster that enthusiasm. I probably could by definition, but mustering that enthusiasm and joy and play and trying to get my kids to feel it too. But at least I'm at the point where I'm planning activities and bringing more fun in. And I had a chat with the kids about how if we can be a bit more structured, we can actually have more fun. And they don't even remember the times when our days were more structured because it's been just months and months of things being really quite messy. But they agreed to try and cooperate and try to listen to me because then we can just get more out of life instead of kind of fluffing about and floating here and there and them choosing their own activities. And I'm going to mention that more in a second actually when we talk about the house. But I was really glad that I could feel that enthusiasm for planning those activities and having things available and set up for my kids because I worried or wondered if I'd lost that through grief. Because I haven't felt that energy and that motivation since very stressful things happened last year and my ex-partner passed away suddenly. Everything just kind of has felt heavy and I've still been appreciating life, but more in the survival mode of just doing what needs to be done, and that includes social activities. That social stuff has really kept me going, but in terms of like really making that extra effort in terms of home or business, I've just been doing what I can, keeping us alive, nourishing us as best as possible, but also trying to let go of added pressure. So it hasn't been too bad. Like I've done art and stuff as well, but just that I've just had to let go a lot of my goals and expectations around parenting because from along the same vein, the kids have not wanted to cooperate and they've been affected as well. And just getting on top of the ADHD of trying to switch tasks and get stuck in into something that they maybe don't want to. Or me just being behind as a single parent trying to catch up on like the house, the cleaning and everything like that and not being able to sit down with them or not being able to set up an activity. So my goal there is really to try and get ahead of them before they start getting things out and making a mess that then needs to be cleaned and feeling like we're behind, is to hopefully get the house in order and then train them. Now we're moving into the house thing. In home, I want to be training my children to have one activity out and then pack it up after themselves. And yes, I'm using the word training because we all have to train our brains. This is neuroscience here. And it's something that we haven't done, but they can do because my friend does this at her house and we can have that level of respect there. But at home, it's just like a whirlwind. There's always just stuff happening. Even if we, have a break and use tech, or even if they sit and read, it just seems like things aren't quite running as smoothly as they could do. So this is where we can just get started. Have an activity, pack it up afterwards. I can set up invitations to play, so have something out for them, which will then minimize the hurricane mess that they'll make because hopefully they'll be engaged in that activity. So that's where I'm at with the house. That would be fantastic if we can make that happen. In business and productivity this week, if you're a big reader and there's a book that you just haven't got around to reading, I recommend trying to do it in a different format. It depends on your mood, where your brain's at, and the book, what format's going to be best. I used to love reading nonfiction books, and I've just really not been able to get myself back into it probably for the last year, along a similar vein. As I was just saying before, things haven't quite been how they used to be, and that's okay. But I think I mentioned in the last episode or the episode before that I got Gretchen Rubin's book, Life in 5 Senses, on pre-order. So I've had it for maybe almost a year and I haven't read it yet. I read the introduction and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But I finally felt called and I got it out. It's been floating around my house for the last week or so. And I picked it up to go to read it. And then I decided, you know what? I love listening to Gretchen Rubin. I love her podcast. I'm up to date with them. I wait for the next episode to come out. I think I would love to listen to this as an audiobook. Sometimes nonfiction audiobooks can be difficult because you feel like you're learning, but Gretchen Rubin has a way of weaving in story, and I clearly find her interesting because I like the podcasts. And I also realized, oh my gosh, the opposite of ADHD tax. ADHD tax is when you accidentally spend more money because of mishaps and timing, like you might get a parking ticket or you get extra fees on a bill because you forgot it was there. But this is the opposite of ADHD tax. I accidentally had an Audible subscription because they only let you pause it for 3 months. And it restarted without me knowing. So I have 2 credits on there and I just spent 1 on Life in 5 Senses. So I wasn't even out of pocket. I know technically I was, but that out of pocket came out ages ago. So at the moment it's just a credit sitting there. So it was like a free book. It was past me who paid for it. And I've got another credit there for when this happens again. So I'm really excited. I started listening to the audiobook and I've already listened to quite a bit and I'm really enjoying it. And so much easier than trying to force my brain to do something it's not in the zone for. As a side note, with things like cancelling subscriptions, if you can't do it straight away, that's a little hack for you. If you are the kind of person who switches streaming services, when I sign up, I immediately set it to cancel at the end of the month. I just do it all in one go because they usually let you keep it to the end of the month. Just check that that's how it works. But if it does, that's a great little hack. If it doesn't, like with this cheeky little Audible subscription, I put it on the calendar straight away for a few days before to cancel it. So, or pause it again, whatever you want to call it. So that's how I deal with that. All right, well, that's my life check-in. In media, I know I said I was watching Only Murders in the Building. I've lost interest. I lost interest in that on halfway through the 3rd episode. So I found myself jumping around TV shows at the moment trying to find something that I'm really engaged in. But I realized that I was really loving the book I was reading, which was something called Something Mr. Wrong. Can't remember what it's called. Something about Mr. Wrong. It was slow at first, but around page 80, I really got into it. And then I just devoured the rest of the book. And I had fun reading. It was really great. And then I realized that next week, a new season of the TV show Extraordinary comes out on Disney+. I assume it's a British TV show because everyone's British except for the lead. She's Irish. Oh, well, her mum is as well. Okay, so it's I think set in the UK. And it's sci-fi. They have superpowers, but it's like or maybe, yeah, anyway, they're in a town and they're normal people, but everyone has a power and the lead does not have a power and she's trying to make her power come out. Usually you get your power a bit after you turn 18, but she's 25, I think, and she hasn't got her power. She's a bit of a hot mess. She's a little bit quirky and dorky and she has a great best friend and it's just a funny, silly TV show. It's got a bit of adult humor. But also just, I always love when a TV show just has this extra element. So I really liked What We Do in the Shadows. Like I think I said to you, I liked it because it has jokes that are set up because they're vampires and those jokes couldn't exist otherwise. And this TV show is similar because there are superpowers in this world. There's all these little quirky things that happen. And a lot of it is just in the background and there's no comment made of it. It's just like scenery. Like if you watched a TV show set in the 60s, there would be an old phone on the wall or whatever. But there's this one scene, for example, where they're just walking along and someone in the background has a blurred face, because that's their power, is the ability to blur their face in public. And there's no other mention of it. It's just in the background. So it makes it really fun to watch, because I think this is the ADHD brain, is that I'm watching a main story, but my brain can pick up and engage with these things in the background as well. And it just adds that extra layer, that extra track for my mind. And it's just really fun. I love it. I recommend Extraordinary. It's probably, on the list of favorite TV shows or TV shows I really like, just because it has lots of elements that I find fun, including her accent. It's just, I love Irish accents. They're so beautiful. So that's what I'm enjoying at the moment. I started a new book as well, a new fiction book called The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I've read her book, The American Roommate Experiment, and I really liked that one. This one I found at a little free library or something, and it's been sitting on my shelf for a little while. I picked it up and I was like, I don't feel like reading it. But then when I was camping, I needed something to read because I just finished the Mr. Wrong book, and I looked through my Kindle samples that I had downloaded, and actually, I couldn't find anything. And then I remembered, or maybe I saw one of her books, or maybe I saw the cover for the book. And I thought, well, that's on my shelf at home. I might as well just give the sample a go. And the sample has the first 3 chapters. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I could get into this storyline. And just like the TV show Extraordinary, there's the extra element in this book that she just randomly speaks in Spanish sometimes, because the author is Spanish, so she just puts in Spanish phrases that people like myself might know, like por dias, maybe, for God's sake, or for the love of God, she says at some point. And she also says per favor, which I know because Italian comes from Latin, just like Spanish, and that means please. And there's some lines that I just don't know at all. So if I want to know, I have to use my brain to work it out contextually, or I need to Google it. So I just love that she's doing that to kind of normalize having some Spanish phrases in there. I think that's really cool. It makes it a little bit quirky and different. So that's the fiction book I'm reading at the moment. And yeah, I think that's all the media I'm kind of consuming at the moment. What I'm letting go of this week is the drive to push and to go, and trying to rest more, but also that tortoise mindset is to keep moving forward, but do things in a chilled out way, which is kind of against my personality, but I'm getting there. Like with the camping, I can do this. I don't need to be stressed about it. Don't need to be negative about it. And we've got our first cabin trip next week, so I have to pack and prepare for that. I'm thinking that's basically the same as what I just did for camping, so I can do this. And same with everything in life. I want to be able to do it without the fight, without the push, and everything seems to be a fight and a push as an ADHD parent, but we're working with it. We're making shifts and changes, just like with toothbrushing being easier because of the Pokemon toothbrushing app we're using. There are little shifts and changes that can be made, and things keep getting better and better, and other challenges might pop up, but on the whole I'm getting older and wiser and more skilled, and I've been doing this a long time now, so every little bit adds up to the point where I feel like I can be on top of my life most of the time in most ways, and I know myself well, and if I fall off the horse I can get back on the horse pretty well, so it's going pretty well overall. My focus for this week is to be present and connected with the kids more, because we seem to just, like I said, it's kind of like a hurricane. Everyone's on their different schedules and working around each other, but they're young kids and they just want to be self-directed all the time. But I want to try and bring that down, bring a focus so we can sit down and have some time together. There was a morning this week when my daughter woke up and she wanted to do something I wanted to do something together, she wanted to do something together, and she thought of dots and boxes. So I had to get on the computer, I had to print out some dots and boxes, but then we had time together just sitting still and being together and playing dots and boxes first thing in the morning when her brain was online and there wasn't lots of crazy things happening and so many ideas she wants to get done all at once. So that was really lovely, and I want to have more of those little yes sessions and respond to bids for connection as well. When a child wants to do something, trying to make it happen and say yes and do it. And that happened again today. She wanted to do baking, so I did baking. I didn't really feel like baking. I wanted to sit down and do something, but she wanted to do it, and she was pretty self-directed with it, and I was just there helping. And it was nice that I could just say yes and do an activity. And I realized we hadn't done baking in a long time and thought about why. But I realized as well it's been summer, so we might be coming into the season of baking. But that's my focus, is to try and connect, because connection inspires cooperation, and it's obviously just nicer to feel cohesive as a family and like we're actually connecting and seeing each other. And building that relationship will really affect and improve everything. So that's my goal there, is to harness those opportunities and create some opportunities as well. And in gratitude this week, I'm so grateful for my body. I'm grateful for my senses. I'm grateful for being alive. I'm grateful to see, to walk, to have all the feelings, and being able to dive into life and have these opportunities and be at this stage of life where we're doing camping and cabin trips and spending time with friends and having an able, agile body and being able to do the things that I can do, and just really loving myself and my life now as we create the life of our dreams. And that's a bit lofty, but that's a bit of a saying. Be grateful for what you have now as you strive towards what you want, and you make those little tweaks and make your life feel better and better. So while I stare out at the water, I stopped staring at the water because I was talking. I was staring more into space. But there's a beautiful rainbow out there. It's a really low curved one. It's not like an arch. It's like a mound. It's an interesting shape, and at the bottom of the rainbow is some really choppy water that looks extra white, and that's a nice sight to see. I hope you have some beautiful sights today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you can ponder and implement anything that stood out to you on the podcast today. And thank you for listening for an extra long episode. I really appreciate that, and hope you found it helpful and interesting. And I'll see you / talk to you next week. Bye. So you've got neurodiverse kids in your life. You've probably noticed that they don't respond well to traditional parenting techniques or discipline or ways to get them motivated or to comply. Maybe you're tearing your hair out with stress and the same old struggles and fights and arguments every single day. Or perhaps you're feeling completely lost because you've tried absolutely everything and it just doesn't seem to work. These kids do not respond to behavior charts. They don't respond to power being asserted over them. What these kids need is something completely different. And what I'm going to suggest to you is you actually stop trying to change them. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And you cannot change these children. You cannot control their behavior. But if you change something around them, you change their environment, you change how you act, it will change how they react, it will change how they respond. If you change something, then no longer will you be stuck in this cycle of doing what you've always done and getting what you've always got. And those traditional methods do not work. So stop wasting your time and energy on them. I know you're looking for a solution and you feel like it's just not possible anymore, but let me tell you, I was in the exact same boat, and then I realized what we need is to do something radically different. My approach is to change the environment around them and to change how you interact with them, and that will have the biggest impact. It'll stop you feeling like your head is butting up against a wall, and it will start actually creating change with less effort. I believe in small, easy to implement shifts that create big change. So if you're interested in seeing what I have to offer, head over to marleydarling.com, and I've got a free webinar there for you to check out, and then comprehensive programs that cover everything I've learned in over a decade of parenting neurodiverse kids, and also in being a neurodiverse person myself who's been studying neurodiversity for over 17 years. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give a different approach, and I wholeheartedly believe that we need a radically different approach to support these children, to empower them to live the best lives possible, and to give you a bit of a break as the parent. So head on over to marleydarling.com, where you can find some free resources and maybe check out my comprehensive programs if you're ready to see a massive difference in your life through just some small shifts. See you there.